Okay, I'd like to call the City of Elkhorn Plan Commission Thursday, April 20th, 6 o'clock meeting to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Wetke.
Here.
Hunter.
Here.
Stacko.
Here.
Boardman. Geesland. Meinel.
Here.
Lechner.
Here. Next, we have the minutes of April 6, 2023. It was in your packet. We have a motion.
So motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Jason.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed for minutes, April 6, 2023. Next, first on the list is Warren Hanson, P.E. Ferris Hanson Associates, applicant, Tommy Winter, Wintech Realty, LLC owner for 235 East O'Connor Drive for the site plan and architectural review. Hi, Warren. Good.
Okay, got a little lot getting in there, but. Okay, what this plan is doing is adding a small area, little under 5,000 square feet to the back of that building. And there's gonna be a firewall put in between the existing building and the back, so they have to sprinkle the building, so our wall there. That's been approved, through the state already, that. And the base slab and foundations for this building were previously approved and they exist today. Not sure, well, looking back at this, what happened was, the owners understood that for that size of building, they didn't need to come to the planning commission for a good permit. Joe gave a permit for that. And then
We're gonna ask you to, so it's all, they're all videoed,
Is
yeah.
that there?
Yeah, thank you.
So that's why the delay, and that was why the upset. It was no big deal, but we just had to follow the procedure. Okay, so that little area there in the middle there, that is the building addition. There's a little staging or parking area back here, and then this is the driveway to get into the end of the building. This part of this parking up here was a little narrow for some of their big trucks, so we're just widening that out about 10 feet or 12 feet. The total land disturbance on the site is actually just a little over 20,000 square feet, roughly over a half an acre. Not what I said on here earlier, because what was said on here, it included the reduction in the green space area was roughly 20,000 square feet. Well, that was for 18,000, and that was added, but the buildings were already put in in the area, so it's really only 20,000. The drainage, we're picking up the drainage from the east side to carry it around the back of the building, and there's going to be a grassed waterway in there. Gilbank Construction's all gearing up to go, and everything's ready to go on it. There are like 12 trees around the front of the building, and this is green space back here, and part of it's already gravelled for access to the back of the building. So there will be about 45% of the total site, even though it may not look like it when you look in here, that would be still green space after this. So that's kind of what we have. And I did get a copy of Naomi's letter, and pretty much all of that I agree with. One thing I saw though, and maybe I should be standing corrected on that, is about the parking areas in the industrial area. I didn't think that was the same applying to that as it would be in residential or commercial or some of the other areas. I thought the industrial wasn't under the same rule. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
Are in regards to landscaping?
What's that?
In regards to landscaping?
Well, in regards to breaking the parking run up at one island or something every 10 cars.
All zoning.
So
All zoning, yeah.
Is that applied to industrial too?
Yes, yeah. There's
Yes,
nothing
it does.
that precludes it.
Okay. there's not much of it out there, that's all.
Okay.
On this one, we have, we got 7 cars there, we got 10 here, and we got 7 or something there, so it's kind of broke up, but not an island in between, I guess.
Okay.
So we can add that.
Naomi, do you have anything to add?
No, this is a pretty simple redevelopment of the site. They have looked at the drainage. There's a nice swale going across to continue the conveyance. They pick up water where it currently is, and they put it where it currently goes. My one comment was just making sure that the aisle widths, I did check them, but the parking stall dimensions and aisle widths should be on the site plan. I checked them per code. The handicap space, I think, might be a little narrow on this one, so I put that code in there. And then added the landscape area requirements, which I think that Allison also mentions in her report. And then just, being cognizant of erosion control and putting up the silt fence, making sure everything gets stabilized, and keeping our roads clean. That's all I got.
Okay. Allison, anything?
I don't have anything else to add. This was briefly touched on at our last staff meeting, and there were no other staff comments, so.
Okay. Plan commission members, any questions?
Was the addition of the 12 feet of asphalt worked into the new calculations that you provided? Just
Yeah,
from
it was. Yep.
impervious? Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Do I have a motion for the site plan architectural review
Motion to approve
with Naomi's?
with Naomi's conditions.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion?
Just to be really clear, it's with all the staff recommendations.
Staff
correct?
recommendations, correct? Any other further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Watke,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stocko,
Yes.
Boardman, Geestlin, Minell,
Yes.
Lechner.
Yes. Motion passed for the site plan and architectural review for the 235 East O'Connor Drive. Next, we have Warren Hanson, B. Ferris Hanson and Associates, applicant, Darrell Matthews, Matthews Properties LLC owner, 975 East Koopman Lane, for another site plan and architectural review.
This site is right next to the old McGill cider building over on Koopman Lane. This was the old McGill's site area right there. And this is Huttapack up here. And this was, I'm not sure what it is now, but that's I forgot the name right now. But anyway.
Prop shaft.
Yeah, prop shaft.
Well, it's drive now, but
Yeah, it's prop shaft, yeah, that's it. We did that plan, but I forgot the name. I'm getting older. All right, well, their existing building is here, and they have a paved area within this brown outline here. That's all existing asphalt that they park on and stage on and store a lot of material that they assemble there outside. And so what the owner of the building and the tenant wanted to put that under roof, the area outside. And so they planned to then build this building that would go all the way out here, and it's over the top of pavement, which would be ground up and then just leveled out. The grades are all almost perfect there. And then in the back, we would have parking through here. This part of the gravel or impervious area would come out. And we're making another connection out here to what is a access easement across the neighbor's property. McGill built the building and they needed to get access, and they granted the easement when they owned it. So that's one way to get a job, I guess. But
Yeah.
so that's basically it. Everything else is going to stay the same. This back in here, the area of the gravel they're taken out is only right here. They're going to landscape that. I guess this was the same comment relative to parking. We have 19 cars there, so I guess we have to put one island in the middle and one island in the middle here, and maybe one in there with 11 on each side is something like that. So we can do that. So that's only 3 cars worth of breakup. And they have more than they need anyway, from what I'm told.
Okay.
With this, there's going to be 2 new docks going in. They have 2 now. There's 2 more going right next to it. And this is all wide open that they can pull in and out of here, and they have a cross easement with the neighbors. So there's a drainage way coming down this way, headed out to the street. Picks up water from behind. I don't know what building they call that now, but that was an addition about 10 years ago, I think. That's pretty much it. They weren't, there's landscaping in front of the building here all the front, but all that's in the back is some green space and some bushes and things along the back line. That's all that's there.
Okay. Naomi, you have comments?
Yeah, my review letter dated April 12th, I believe is in the packet. This redevelopment is slightly bigger, larger. They're disturbing more than an acre of land, so an NOI is required. Basically, it's a formality. They'll look at erosion control. I don't expect them to have any comments coming back. Stormwater is not required for this site, as the existing gravel is considered impervious, and they're basically just replacing impervious for impervious. I did take a look at old aerial photographs. I was curious if the gravel maybe crept out from the building over the years, but it appeared that the limits of the gravel, as shown on Ferris Hanson's plans, was done when the building was constructed. So I included that as existing impervious in my calculations. The ingress egress easement has to be extended in order for this expansion to work. So that's important that that gets signed and approved by both parties, and a copy given to the city. The proposed parking lot has no landscaping, which Warren has already mentioned. The site plan seems to have a narrow aisle width when you get close to where it kind of gathers together on the south side of the property, if north, or is it?
This way.
Yeah, you know where it comes together, it gets narrower than 26 feet. And then there was no clarification on I'm assuming it's going to be paved?
Yes.
Asphalt, yeah. Which was my comment number 6. And then comment number 7 was basically a clarification. I did go out there, I saw the riprap swale. It doesn't seem to get a lot of drainage. So they're putting a drive over the top, just having Warren clarify that that's not going to block any runoff between the 2 sites and create any problems on the lot line. And then my pretty common erosion control and keeping our street clean comment.
Okay. I can address a couple of those things. We are extending the area for the drainage up here, and that'll still work fine after we do that. And the one thing about an NOI, I don't mind getting an NOI. We're going to take out the pavement and put a building on at the same grade. We're not getting into subgrade at all. All we're doing is leveling it off, taking the pavement off, and doing that. The DNR has allowed that to be done without calling it land disturbance and disturbing topsoil and grading and things.
Okay, if you get an email from them for that.
I will check, and if I
Okay.
can get a note to that effect.
Sure.
But I do think that is the rule, so.
I would accept that if that was their determination.
Yeah,
Yep,
Pete Wood can do that.
sure.
Well, that's about it, I guess.
Okay. Ellison?
Other than that, we'll do all the other things. We'll put some more dimensions on the parking and other
Thank you.
things.
Allison?
I don't have anything further. The landscaping islands and the parking was my only note on that, and it's been addressed, so that's all.
Commission members? Any questions?
Nope.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve
Was-
with staff comments.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We We have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any questions or further discussion? Roll call, please.
Watke,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stocko,
Yes.
Boardman, Geestlin, Minell,
Yes.
Lecter.
Yes. Motion approved for the site plan architectural review for 975 East Koopman Lane. Thank you, Warren. Next, we have possible action regarding creation of zoning designation for homeless shelters, emergency shelters within the city of Elkhorn. I think this is on here, Adam, correct me, just to discuss to see if we want Ward to move forward, correct?
Yeah, we were looking for some guidance from the planning commission on whether or not, and I'll certainly defer to Allison on this to give you guys background, but the city's been approached by two different property owners looking to, one, I should say, one property owner and then one prospective property owner looking to do different types of transitional housing. One would be more of a homeless shelter, and the other one would be more of a short-term shelter using basically short-term residential units. And so currently, we've gotten some guidance that right now, and this is from Ward's giving us this guidance, that they're not permitted in the city code as of currently. There's no specific city code provision that specifically permits these types of uses. So the question we're looking for, getting guidance from the planning commission, is whether you'd like us to work with legal counsel, and whether that's Ward or somebody else for reasons that Ward can talk about, whether you want us to pursue changing the city code to allow these types of uses in certain parts of the city. And there's some options in terms of where you do that, whether it's a commercial district, like a district where you'd have hotels, if you allow it there, or if you allow it in institutional. So at that point, that's my preview, and I'll certainly defer to like Ward and Allison to talk more about it.
Well, I'll expand first. A couple of things. One of the potentials here is New Beginnings. So if that is an entity that we're dealing with, I'm going to back out of that and not talk about anything that New Beginnings might do, because I used to be on their board of directors. Not on there anymore, but that was an issue in the past. So, but I don't think it's a problem for us to draft an ordinance that addresses this issue. And to expand on what Adam was saying a little bit, I don't necessarily think it's the case that it's not permitted in the city because there's nothing specific in the code about it. It's a matter of we don't have anything that addresses it one way or another, so we would need to find a place where it fits and say that this is, and add that to the existing ordinance, I think would be advisable, or create a district that would deal with this issue. I mean, if you looked at the 17 or 19 or whatever it is districts that we've got, there's no way you're ever going to describe all the uses that might come to a city and say, we want to put this or that up. I mean, most of them are going to fit well within one of the groups, but every now and then you're going to find something that doesn't, because commercial, retail, industrial, and other kinds of uses are always changing and expanding. So it would make perfect sense to have a district that addressed this issue and put it into one of those. The ones that are most closely fitted, in my opinion, and I'll defer to Allison on this because she's much more an expert in this than I am, but would be if you looked at hotels, I mean, because that's transitional or transient type individuals in housing. Again, I'm not sure from how that would be received among hotels if they were placed near them. Certainly, if you could do the transitional housing district, that's another one. It's supposed to transition you from commercial or business, downtown business type stuff to single family residential. So if you were transitioning from one to the other, that would seem to be a district that might address it. And then the institutional, because right now it doesn't specifically say anything about these types of uses, and they're really only talking about like hospitals and care facilities and things like that. So those are the areas that seem to kind of jump out to me as the ones that would be most closely addressed to it. The practical aspects of such a use, were the city to be desirous of allowing these and finding a way to get this done, would be ones where the services and facilities for the individuals utilizing the facility would be readily available to them in walking distance. So that would seem to let out like the business park is not a good choice for that kind of a use. But again, that's not a hard and fast. That's something that you folks have to decide, not me. I'm just suggesting to you that this is the kind of thing I've talked about and seen before, and it's been the issues that have come up in the past. So, Allison?
Yeah, so just to further touch on that, in my time here so far, it's come up a few times. And so I sat down with Ward and Adam, and I wanted to have this conversation with you all as well to get some feedback on how you feel about moving forward with this. Currently, like Ward said, there's just no good location. There's no good description in our current ordinance, and it's a really gray area. So when I have residents and citizens, coming to me asking if this is a permitted use in the city, it's really hard to give a definitive answer, and we're often trying to squeeze that use. So, like an emergency shelter, transitional housing, anything like that, we're squeezing that use into a definition that doesn't perfectly fit it. So it's a gray area, and I would love to clean it up, get it to be a little bit more black and white, so that we have a really good definition of it in our current ordinance. I think it's going to come up time and time again. It's not something that's going to go away as our city grows and expands. So with that being said, I wanted to get further feedback on, how you feel about it, and if so, any feedback you might have on it, locations you might think it would be a good fit. I did a little bit of digging into what other communities around us do. And oftentimes, homeless shelters, emergency shelters, transitional housing is something that is a conditional use. So they will find a few zoning districts or designations that they feel it might fit well in. And I would agree with Ward that typically it's the transitional districts or the institutional districts that those will go in. And then sometimes a commercial district, maybe a business or a commercial district as well. But they're oftentimes then conditional uses. So they would come before the Plan Commission for approval, and we would make sure that they're a good fit for that location.
Commission members?
Yeah, I think we should do something. There's no doubt about that. I think what Allison mentioned and Ward, to look at those different districts, and definitely, if it has to come to, as you said, would be put as a conditional use. And I know in the past, we've had problems that there's very few reasons why you could turn down a conditional use permit. I mean, they're pretty set. We've gone through that. I think everybody here has with, and that being the case, Ward, I'd ask your information on that, how you feel about it. In other words, if we come up with these districts and it isn't a conditional use situation, and we say, no, we don't really want it there because we have to meet that criteria, I believe, correct?
Right. If the law changed, gosh, I can't remember how long ago, but when that case came down, it was pretty clear after that if you met the standards that had been set, you were not allowed by amorphous reasoning, I'll call it, to say no. Just generally, and that's true throughout the state. I think conditional use makes the most sense to me by far. However, because otherwise, permitted use
is
or no use, and if it's not permitted, I think the city's going to be subject to litigation.
Absolutely.
On that too.
I agree.
Any other comments, members?
So my thought would be to go ahead and work on getting that put together would be my suggestion.
I would agree with that too. I mean, it should be cleaned up and
Yes.
more definite, so Allison would have an answer,
Right.
or anybody coming to the city.
So are we thinking the second meeting in May, if there's nothing forward, that we meet? Or are we gonna have a meeting about this, is my guess?
I think if we could work, if people are agreeable to moving forward, then we could have our attorney and Ward's office start working on some drafts. And then as soon as he has a timeline on what that might look like for him, then we can get it on the next agenda that it's available to discuss.
If we do that, I mean, if that is the will of the commission, I don't think there'd be any problem fitting it in getting you some kind of a draft before the next meeting, if you wanted to have a meeting on the 18th. If there's nothing else on, I don't know that it's emergent, and we can do it on the next meeting that we do have something. But I would like some direction from commission members about which districts you're thinking. I mean, because otherwise I'm creating it and not my role.
Well, I would think, as you mentioned, the hotels, that district, I would definitely like to see in there. I'm not, try to keep it as much as we can out of the solid residential district.
Avoid single-family residential.
Right, single family, yes, yes. So I'm not in favor of plopping it in the middle, on the end, or wherever, okay? What was it, our third choice?
I'm fine with institutional.
Institutional, I'm fine with. I don't know, anybody else on
I was thinking the old, the land next to West Side.
Special school. That's where I went. And I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's institutional zoned.
Are we talking about the
Lakeland
old
School?
Lakeland School that's fallen down?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got single family on 3 sides of that, just
And
so
we
you're
want-
all aware.
I think our plans were to try and rezone that at some point here to get it back, to single family again. Or, I know we talked about apartment, but, so.
Well, there's been a million plans proposed to us.
Oh, we have.
Perhaps less than a
Oh my
million.
God. In 1 year, we had a million plans.
The other one that was mentioned by Allison and me was transitional, and that does abut on single-family residential
Yes,
as
it
well,
does.
but I want to know if that's one I should consider.
Well, I'm not in favor of that one, but.
Yeah,
it's
neither
up to
am
the
I,
committee.
not in residential.
No in the T-zone, got it.
Right.
Anything else, commission?
What about just running this past everyone? I have seen in some municipalities they'll do like a multifamily district. Are you opposed to that district as well? Would you like to see it stay completely out of a residential district and more in the institutional and maybe potentially like a commercial district? Or would multifamily be a good fit?
I
I'm not
think
sure about the multifamily, in my opinion.
You what?
I'm not sure about the multifamily.
I'm not sure either. Do you think we would have enough, space with the ones that we were in favor of without adding that in? Multiple family. I mean, I don't want to make an ordinance that we limit ourselves to, somebody,
Make it-
a
make it
backyard,
honest.
yeah,
There's no place to go.
for growth, I
Right.
mean, it's,
And that would be challengeable as well if you created a ghost district where it's on paper that you have it, but in practical effect, nobody
It's not
could ever
there.
do it.
right.
And I will tell you, I mean, I'll just speak the quiet part out loud here. If you're looking about blowback, which you're certainly going to get in single-family residential, you're going to get blowback. And I think you're going to get some in the motel grouping as well. But multifamily, I think that kind of makes sense. As far as least blowback, most efficacy, closest to services, because those are all close to services and close to grocery stores and banks and
Grocery store.
offices and that sort of thing. Just a thought. Grocery store. Yeah, sorry.
What about out towards the hospitals?
Well, they've got that path for all the Huber people to walk back and forth now, so at least you're not going to get killed on the highway over the bridge like was used to be a big problem.
I'm just thinking those type of services.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I've studied this issue a little bit, so I'll just say this. If you're putting people in that are homeless, that's often as a result of some sort of a traumatic event or job loss, those kinds of situations, victims of crime, that sort of thing. If that's the case, being right next to the Huber dorm and right next to the jail and the courthouse often is not across the street from the WCAC. sometimes that's problematic. I'm just saying. For those individuals to deal with.
What if we just start with what we talked about? Is that all right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
At least
Maybe-
get a start there,
it's just a
Allison, and-
starting point. Yeah,
Yeah, and if we,
I think that's great.
after
If you
work, put something together and we can look at it and say, well, you know, what's the next area that would fit best, you know?
And then, Allison, if you could do that, then we could look at it, and you can come back and let us know if you guys, there's no way to really put these, we might need another district.
Yeah, of course, I can certainly do that. I think it's just a good starting point, a really rough draft, to get started on it and kind of revamp our ordinance.
Yeah. Because then we can look at it, and she can let us know. Sound good, members?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, general discussion items, any updates?
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I've got a question for you, you know, and the one that is out by the Holiday Inn Express, now the frame is up, right?
Yes.
I mean, I keep getting calls and people are saying, what's going in there? What's going on? I said, I have no idea. Did anybody come forward yet with any plans to, no?
No, no one has come forward. The last update, of course, was that they were issued that early start permit, and I have no idea what they're doing with it. I don't even know if it's for sale or, I don't know,
Okay, that's,
unfortunately.
yeah.
There was some things out there today, just parked on the side of it. I don't know if they were gonna be working on it, but there was like an end loader and a crane over there today. I don't know if that means anything.
Is there a deadline that they have to have the building, like, enclosed or anything, or is it just open end for?
I think it's just, I don't think there's a certain deadline, but I do know that if they want to do anything further after that frame, they would have to come speak with the building department and pull all of the permits.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Didn't we have, maybe this was for single family, but didn't we have a change in our ordinance where now if you are beginning construction, you have to complete it within a year or your
Yes.
permit sunsets?
But he got an extension.
Okay.
Remember, we did give them an extension. Their time was just about up, and I think we gave them a 2-year.
I just want to make sure that they
You
were
can
covered
look,
in.
she can look that up, but I know we did give them an extension.
Last night I talked with Mark, he was still looking at finding a restaurant and just putting the right group together, and
Right.
it's been difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, review upcoming meeting dates. We do have a meeting May 4th, correct, Sherry?
Yes.
18th?
No.
Nothing on the 18th so far, but May 4th we do. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.